Have you ever heard of a truth or dare horror story before? I am going to tell you exactly how it happened to me. Well, stick to the end for an intriguing and bizarre story. Story 1. Strange Dare. Having fun games with friends is a boost to the brain, but we should know when to draw the lines. This was a month before I turned 18, and I had invited my closest friends over because my parents were on the road, and I thought the house would be too boring and lonely for me. Furthermore, the people who would have supported me had moved to Mexico recently. I contacted my closest friends because I detest being alone. Well, 30 minutes later, Eric, Ricky, and Manuel arrived at my house with a couple of bottles of strong drinks, fitting for our smooth and powerful group. With just the four of us, it will be the most wonderful night ever. We took several bottles, watched some movies, and had a great conversation. We also engaged in a protracted Epicurean pillow fight. Eric suggested that we play a game of truth or dare at this point to spice up the evening and make it truly amazing. I consented to play this unidentified game with the others. My closest friends are these wacky, funny males who have always liked anything new and different in their activities. They had to respond as quickly and spontaneously as they could to some questions in this game that they did not feel comfortable answering. When it was my turn, I made a dare that they all scowled at. They then gave me a repulsive look for a few minutes before making a more audacious suggestion for me to make in this game. The most outrageous of them, Ricky, challenged me to change into a girl and walk like a model. In my opinion, this is completely absurd and not funny at all, but I refrained from offending them. They are also my lifelong best friends, not simply my visitors. I searched through my sister's clothes and discovered a wig and a beloved item she had left behind. I thought that was it, but my pals persisted in pushing it, so they brought me outside while they hid themselves, and I was there dressed like a girl. When I walked outside to find somebody to pick on, some guys who were smoking on their motorcycles happened to see me. However, my buddies stayed hidden, waiting to see how they would respond. But I chose to stroll by them after they drew my attention. And I quickly noticed that the biker boys were all heading in my direction when I turned to look back at them. They approached me with confidence, one asking for my phone number, and the other asking how often I visit this spot. I was starting to feel uneasy, especially with one of their expressions. I have never carried out such a thing before. I was afraid, but I kept my composure. It didn't go well for me since I was blushing as though I were a real girl. As things weren't getting funny anymore, I decided to come clean before a harmless joke turned strange and hurt someone's feelings. I laughed uncontrollably and cried, "I'm a boy," expecting my friends who were hiding to join me. To my dismay though, there was no laughter in response, and their cheeks turned red with rage. They yelled, "How dare you deceive us!" I took off my stilettos and wig to try to persuade them, but it was obvious it wasn't the right approach. They pulled out a knife in an instant. So I kicked the closest person and fled for my life, though not before the others leaped onto their motorcycles and began to come after me quickly. My closest friends didn't come out at this point. Instead, they hurried inside to dial 911. The most cunning of my attackers found me and kicked me with his boots, causing the most excruciating pain I had ever experienced. Someone else arrived with his knife and slashed my forehead. My left eye was immediately saturated with blood, and the person I thought understood my practical joke punched me in the jaw. Just as I was about to take another strike, I heard the siren's faint sound. My mouth was full of blood as I blurted it out. The police were ecstatic, and the guys hurriedly left. I was taken to the hospital on a stretcher when the cops arrived. I spent days in the hospital and received sutures. What a great way to discover the harsh reality that, if you don't want to be taken advantage of, not every game is worth playing. This sounds like a lesson for everyone, in my opinion. Avoid truth or dare. It's a horrible game. Story 2. Avenue for Revenge. We should always know when to stop certain characteristic attributes before we are mistaken for a false identity. Jenny is my name. I'm a 20-year-old woman, and this incident occurred a few years ago. One of my friends, Annie, approached me while I was in my hostel and inquired, "Are you aware that Ella is in love with your boyfriend?" Her question perplexed and confused me. I chose to put on a brave face and say, "No, she's not," even though I felt uncomfortable and strange for not realizing that another girl was in love with my guy. She went further to say, "My boyfriend is making out with Ella. Take a chance, get close to Ella." Whoa, let's begin this celebration. She asked to see my plans, so she could help me carry them out. I could pay them to track her down and use blackmail, but that would irritate my boyfriend and draw the attention of the authorities. Alternatively, I could deliberately track down some of her friends, make them my close friends, and use them to entice her to become my friend. "No, I'm not interested in dealing with the police," I said to my friend. "Better still, I know how to make a big impression in Las Vegas to get her to avoid my guy. Ella is naive and has no idea what she's getting herself into by meddling with my boyfriend." I was able to put Ella in touch with my own pals, and before Ella knew it, we had all become friends. I had even managed to make some of Ella's friends detest her. Unaware that I am aware of her actions around my lover, Ella enjoys spending all of her time with my boyfriend, despite being a timid, carefree girl at times. And so I gathered them all one day and began a game I called Strangers Die and I Get to Live. I went one step further and informed the women that the game was actually rather enjoyable and safe. You are being watched in everything you do, and this game follows you around. They all agreed that violators would face harsh penalties. I warned them about the ghosts in the game, who would punish players severely if they were discovered searching for them wherever they went, and if they broke the rules. Already, a few of them were afraid. My nasty buddy informed them that they had to play this game if they wanted to be among the big girls. But they had no idea that I was using them. Confused and surprised, Ella returned to her hostel. She recently decided to play a game that she doesn't particularly understand or grasp because she doesn't want her new friends to think less of her. She also finds it difficult to break free from this strange, crazy bunch of women. She doesn't realize that I am terrible, despite the false smiles I wear, nor does she know that her crush is my boyfriend. I gently warned them at a later meeting that if they were weak in this game, they would drop dead and there would be no going back. I continued by revealing the most important detail, which is that there will be no covert meetings or affairs with any men. Ella agreed pretentiously, although she didn't like this. She had planned to surprise my boyfriend with a visit after the meeting, but one of the girls hurried over to warn her that the game was genuine and that she should be careful. I don't want any girls to play around with my guy because I love him so much. Although I have never before been possessive or envious of a man, Danny is my entire universe, and I never would have chosen another woman for him. Ella was unaware of this, and I feel sorry for her because she will actually be my victim. Nobody can tamper with what belongs to me. Ella walked over to Danny's house in the middle of the night to retrieve something she had forgotten earlier. While there, I gave Danny a loving embrace and a kiss before leaving to return to my hostel. The results day came around, and I was grinning viciously. There were boys around, along with their girlfriends. Ella entered the hall while I sat next to Danny, so I told one of the girls to give her a seat far away from my boyfriend. She proudly replied that she had been good and loyal when I called out to her to tell our friends that she had not been adhering to our game plan. I then gave her a guilt-ridden look and gestured for her to turn to face my lover. I also asked her if she had ever met any guys here in secret, but she continued to lie. This time, all of my girls, including her friends, rose to express their surprise and annoyance at her. My partner angrily got up and scolded Ella for not even mentioning that she had ever met or known him. Ella started crying at this point because she felt so ashamed. I took advantage of this and told her straight out that Danny was my boyfriend. I even feigned anger when I was genuinely having fun with this. "Have you been secretly seeing my boyfriend?" I openly asked her. I can judge her as the game's leader, and her friends and family will know what I think of her. As they watched Ella's denial, the men in the house were furious. Some questioned her about her cowardice. I shamed Ella beyond death, even though she refrained from fully expressing her deranged impulses. They all left Ella, believing that this would atone for her transgressions of treachery and denial. Danny is unaffected by my actions, and so I continue to do as I please with my buddies. Heading to the car, he left me there while whispering in my ears to meet him in the car. Once I regained consciousness, I heard Ella exclaim, "You broke the rule and you are no longer my friend." And I realized that I and Ella were alone in the hall. She continued, "You made me deny knowing him." Ella sobbed pitifully, her sobs still not stopping. "You are terrible. You devised this lethal game just to humiliate me. This will be reimbursed to you." I couldn't contain myself and abandoned her to go hang out with my partner. It makes me sick to my stomach to think about the game now. Not all games are games, but some are just avenues to exercise hatred and jealousy. They should not be encouraged, and the authorities should look into it. What do you think about this game? Truth or dare? Let us know in the comment section below. Do you love scary stories? Check out our previous video.